course I must talk about this. I still want to make a long video one day talking about Knights of the Zodiac, which shows how an American company can be a... But this version was recently found by the great Raymona, whose documentaries I recommend to anyone who speaks English. She also found the infamous Toonmaker's Moon, also known as Saban Moon. But to the case at hand. And I'll consider this cartoon as just a cartoon. If you think of it as a version of Saint Seiya, there's no chance of it being good enough to even be considered.
I know you guys are from out of town, so let me just fill you in on how to survive here, okay? See, all you gotta do is be sure to give big tips. The designs are basically the Knights, but with a few modifications so they're more 90s. There's almost no height variation most of the time. Tatsumi has a big mustache, and Shun has much more of a square chin. In fact, the faces have very little difference between them. Almost as if they were planning for Oh, they were! By the way, they all have new Western names, but I'll use the original names anyways. As for the attitudes of the characters...
You guys better drop my duffel bag before I drop you in your tracks.
Shun, once again, had a lot of adjustments because, of course, how would anyone dare to have a male character that doesn't act macho? Hyoga doesn't seem to love the place where he trained, though he says he likes his master, who's all covered up. Could it be they were already planning to review his Aquarius? Iki is much calmer and well-intentioned, and his master even more so. And he's no longer Shun's brother. Seiya and Shiryu have almost no noticeable difference. The powers were reduced. The Shoryuha and the Hoyoku Tensho were replaced by the Rising Dragon and the Fire Fist, which seem to be basically the same thing. They go to wherever they're looking towards, ready to attack. Iki with fire on his extremities, Shiryu with just green energy.
Alright, Leroy! Who's the one and only master?
I am fine. Only you are now the master.
The diamond dust got really ugly, reduced at the best of times to beans, and at the worst to snow or ice balls that are thrown or race on the ground. Seiya just punches 100 times fast, according to We Have Marin at Home, but in the very demonstration he isn't only punching, and after we'll see him using energy waves to attack and close the door. And Shun just uses his chain as an actual chain, so much so he has to go get it back, or spin it to be able to throw it. Ares went from manipulator wearing a mask who controls knights to literally just Apollo, with his 12 golden warriors that protect his temple on Mount Olympus. Obviously, their powers have also been reduced, because before any knights of black, plastic, silver, or gold, the 5 are able to defeat Ram. And being the first one and with that name, obviously he's the knight of Taurus. And Nova, Saori's forgotten twin sister, is the goddess Athena since forever and paid for their training since she knew that Apollo would attack the Earth. It's a much less interesting premise? Yes, certainly. No sign of intrigue between knights, the sanctuary being supposedly good but secretly bad. The background is quite vague, so there could be battles anywhere. One of the ones we see is on a bridge, and I'd say it was mostly well executed. On the other hand, we have the hero saying punchlines
That was cool.
that aren't always good.
Now that was hot.
Yeah, we only just learned that in order to survive, you gotta give good tips.
And so all of them are trapped by the end. Each of the enemies is defeated, so they fall inside the same truck, even if that doesn't make any sense for where they are. They set fire to the bike, trapped, no more bike. Made you fly from the bike? No more bike. They also have to go through the whole explanation and say they don't believe it, just so afterwards they believe Nova is the new Athena. In fact, she doesn't say she's new, so there might not have been a reason why this happens now instead of earlier. The gloves are special protection and are stolen by Apollo. But then they decide to go after Nova anyways, and they just hear they'll have whatever they need if they're worthy, but the constellations or cosmos aren't even mentioned. No, just the life force.
I can feel her life force.
Must be the force Goku uses in Spanish. Of course, besides that, there are less than perfect factors. Cars with no wheels to make the animation so it's futuristic. Certain color choices that are less than pleasant, or wasting time with little jokes, or a taxi driver to make little jokes to lead to the other jokes. Oh, and Taurus has a laser. There are some positives actually. The warrior's presentation is quick, so it can hardly be seen as bad. On top of that, they move some of the places where they're trained without specifying where they are. So, besides Hyuga, they could go back to such places more easily. More than that, we can easily see that Ikki is going to be more like a Wolverine, trying to help but being feared. Or that Seiya is a playful smartass, even if in an exaggerated way. I'd say the way they meet is also good, with them all thinking a bag is theirs, but all of them being similar because they're all from their benefactor. Of course, Shun coming on and saying he'll kick their asses if they don't drop the bag seems a bit forced, even if in the 90s it might have been acceptable, but Shiryu using Andromeda's chain is more difficult to swallow. There are some mistakes not as bad as that here and there, like Nova saying they have to fight together to defeat the Golden Warrior, but they weren't even trying to fight alone, or Chain of Andromeda suddenly holding water that couldn't be held physically a moment ago. The defeat of Taurus, yes, in the pilot, ends up looking more like that excuse so nights can pass, but worse, because Ikki and Seiya are also here, and even so, they just knock him down. Of course, in this world, no one really said anything about the seventh sense, or Golden Warriors being stronger than others, etc. I can't say it's good, but for a pilot, I wouldn't say it's bad. A lot of things here are good because they are diluted versions of something better, but it's still better than dicks.